Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Happy New Year, guys. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Miami, Season 4, Episode 4. And let me just say, I have quite a lot to talk about because I had to watch this episode a good 3 times, especially that explosive ending at Julia's party between Adriana and Guerdy. I have quite a lot of thoughts. But without further ado, let's just jump right on into this recap because we don't have a minute to spare. We start off this episode with Miss Alexia. She's at the restaurant and she is waiting for Herman's lover to arrive. Remember how they were supposed to be meeting up so that Herman's lover could give Alexia all the details about him and Herman's relationship. Child, Alexia is waiting for a good 30 minutes when she realizes that this guy is not coming. She has been stood up. She leaves him a voicemail and she's like, hey, I'm here at the restaurant. I'm sorry we couldn't meet up. Maybe next time. Now, Alexia is a lot nicer than me because I probably would have left him a scathing voicemail. When it comes to lateness and when it comes to people backing out or not keeping their word when it comes to an engagement, I have an issue with that. Don't waste my time. That was something that was stressed to me from early on. Do not waste people's time. I always try to be punctual. I always try to make sure that if I say I'm going to be somewhere, I'm going to be somewhere. Herman's lover could have told Alexia the night before, hey, I'm not comfortable. Can we do this another time or do this over the phone? For him to not say anything and to leave her hanging like that, that wasn't cool. Alexia is a busy woman and she does not have time to waste. But anyhow, Alexia is disappointed, but she takes it all in stride and says, you know what, another time. There was a big part of me that was skeptical about the lover appearing on camera. I had a feeling that he would get scared and back away from doing it. And then the other half of me was like, oh, he's obviously going to meet up with Alexia. We're going to see the whole conversation being filmed, but apparently not. Oh, before I forget, Alexia and Teresa from New Jersey favor each other so much. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the forehead or if it's like the jawline, but they look so much alike to me. I want them to meet up. That would be so much fun to see Teresa and Alexia standing side by side. But I digress. So now we move on to the next scene with Larsa. She's out doing some shopping with her youngest child and her only daughter, Sophia, who's 12 years old. And Larsa made sure that it was a big, grand event because she had the store closed down for just her and her daughter to shop. And baby, the personal shopper had all these really nice pieces for her daughter. She had the Fendi, the Prada, the Balenciaga, the Gucci. I said, all right, that is quite the selection for a 12-year-old, but I am here for it.
I love it. I love it.
So Larsa says that she is super close to her kids. She and Scotty have 4 kids together because remember that Scotty also has 3 kids from previous relationships, but I digress. So anyhow, she says that she has 3 boys, 1 daughter. Her oldest son, Scotty Jr., is gearing up for the NBA. Then her other 2 boys are in high school, and then she has Sophia. So she goes on to say how Sophia loves to model and act, and Sophia does not take pictures for free. She said that Mama only takes pictures if she's getting paid for it. And I was screaming because I remember, I think it was Linda Evangelista, one of those supermodels who said that famous quote, I don't get out the bed for less than $10,000 a day. That's what that gave me when she said that her daughter does not take pictures for free. So Larsa goes on to say that she doesn't understand why people act like she just parties all the time and is never home, because when she was in her 20s and 30s, she never went out. She was only focused on her kids and Scotty. But since her and Scotty have filed for divorce, Now it's a different story, and remember that her kids are a lot older. Now, I'm not really surprised by how Larsa is acting now. Larsa gives me that she's very much in a midlife crisis, and I'm not saying that you can't be older and party. Like, I'm not saying that at all. But her whole behavior, her whole demeanor, it's giving very much that she wants to be in her 20s and 30s again. I think that there is a little bit of resentment and sadness that she dedicated everything to her kids and her husband, and she never took the time out for herself to really find out what she wanted to do. And we've heard her say in multiple episodes already that she wants to find out what makes her happy, because she didn't have that. She felt very stifled. She felt very boxed in, like she was only a wife and a mother. Then she continues by saying that when she filed for divorce, she felt like she was letting her family down because she's from a super close-knit family. So the fact that her and Scotty would no longer be together, that would be like breaking her family up. She goes on to say that although they're not together, they are determined to make things pleasant and cordial for the sake of their kids. So the scene ends with Larsa's daughter picking out all these fabulous outfits, and the personal shopper literally yells like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much for shopping with us. And by the way, your total is $7,500. Now, on every other Housewives show, they never say the total out loud. That gave me very much that Larsa wanted everybody to know how much she spent. And it was like, girl, really? It just gave me very tacky. But again, it's Larsa. She's a very tacky person. But I was like, sis, you didn't need her to say it out loud. I'm sure she gave you the receipt, so why did it need to be said? And Bravo usually just writes the amount that was spent at the bottom of the screen. So I was like, that was just so unnecessary. But I digress. So we jump on over to the next scene with Julia. She is at her farm, and we see Miss Adriana arrive. Miss Adriana was in this really gorgeous white ensemble. The dress was really pretty. She had her Valentino shoes on. And then we see Guerdy arrive with her husband and her youngest son. So they're there to help Julia plan her 49th birthday party. So before they get to planning, Julia decides that she's going to show Guerdy and her family and Adriana a tour of the farm. I said already, Adriana picked the wrong outfit to be walking around on a farm. Like, it was a mess. So it was really funny because you saw Adriana's Valentinos getting all muddy. Her heels were sinking into the mud. There's animal poop all over the place. And I mean, her shoes were getting tore up. Now me, I don't play about my clothes. I don't play about my shoes, especially my designer pieces. No, ma'am. Louboutins, Valentinos, Gucci's, Pradas are too expensive for them to be in the mud. And I said, Adriana, although you look great, that was the wrong outfit to do a farm tour in. And if you had some sense, you would have brought either a change of shoes, or you would have just said, you know what? I'm gonna just sit right here and I'll be here when you guys are finished. So of course, Adriana is complaining during the tour that her Valentinos are getting messed up. She's like, Julia, you have to buy me some new shoes. Like, these are Valentinos, these are $1,000 heels, okay? Like, I didn't sign up for all this. So Julia's like, okay, girl, you know, calm down, relax. And she brings out these 2 buckets for Adriana to wash her feet in. So now, here's where things get interesting. While Adriana's washing her feet in the buckets, Miss Julia takes it upon herself to start washing Adriana's feet. Now, I still stand behind what I said in the last recap, that Julia and Adriana are definitely playing up this little flirtation for the cameras, but I do feel like Julia was being a bit overboard by washing Adriana's feet, because that could be seen as disrespectful to your wife, and it wasn't really that serious because Adriana was soaking her feet and she was also cleaning off her heels. There was no need for you to massage her feet too. You get me? And Miss Julia, Martina has a long coin. Although I feel like you and Adriana are just doing this for the cameras, don't let these antics get you divorced, sis. Okay? Divorced and penniless. So now Guerdy comes out and she's like, what's going on here? Like, I did not come here to see you washing Adriana's feet. Like, I came here to help you plan your birthday party. So now Guerdy says in her confessional that she finds it a bit bizarre, and on top of that, she wonders if Julia and Adriana have crossed the line. Then she goes on to say that they have a friendship with benefits. So when Guerdy said that, I already had a feeling that she was going to open her mouth to the other ladies later on about this whole foot massage situation. Because even though we don't know Guerdy that well, you can get a gauge of her personality and you can tell that she likes to talk. So now Adriana finishes soaking her feet, Julia stops giving her the foot massage, and they go over to another corner of Julia's house and they start discussing Julia's birthday party. So Guerdy's like, okay girl, what's the theme for the night? Like, let me know. And Julia says that she wants to have a Tulum-inspired birthday party. So now Guerdy starts asking Julia about the farm. And she's like, do your daughters like living on the farm? And Julia's like, no, they really don't. They actually hate it. So now Guerdy says, do you ever think about if you had a son, like would he like the farm? And now Julia starts crying. We don't know why she's crying, but Guerdy's question about if she had a son obviously triggered her. So now we find out that Julia indeed gave birth to a son in October of 1991. And she says that she was looking for a nanny and this qualified nurse called her up. She sounded great over the phone and Julia hired her. Then Julia says that 8 days later, her son was in a coma and it was because he had shaken baby syndrome. And then 2 days later, he was pronounced dead. And the day that he passed away, the nanny vanished and she was never to be seen again. So Julia is hysterically crying and she goes on to say that her son was murdered on her watch and she will never not think about it for as long as she lives. Then she goes on to say how she blames herself every day for it. And my heart really broke. I was like, Julia, you had no idea that somebody would do something so evil and something so sinister. So I was like, sis, please do not blame yourself because that wasn't your fault. Who would think that somebody that they hired to watch their child would do something so awful? I was so upset hearing this. I was like, I really hope they find that nanny. I don't care that it's been over 20-something years. I really hope they find that woman and she's under the jail for the rest of her life. That is absolutely disgusting that she would even do that to a baby. So now Guerdy's crying and we find out that she was pregnant with a baby girl that she lost at the 4-month mark. So while Guerdy and Julia are both crying, Adriana is looking at Guerdy with a bit of disgust on her face. And Adriana says in her confessional that Guerdy is trying to take the attention off of Julia and she's trying to make this about her. And she finds it to be super off-putting and super disrespectful. So here's what I think. I think that Guerdy got triggered when she heard Julia's story about her son. Because that generally does happen when somebody goes through a terrible loss, and if you've gone through a really terrible loss as well, when somebody brings up their loss, it can trigger you. And you can get very emotional as well, especially when the other person starts crying. It can definitely trigger up those same feelings. I do feel like they shared a moment. They were both very vulnerable together. And I think that Adriana is a bit possessive when it comes to her friends. I think that she feels like because she's known Julia the longest, that, you know, that's her friend. And I think that maybe she feels a bit threatened that Guerdy is now in the picture. I also feel like, for whatever reason, Adriana is not feeling Guerdy. And because of that, whatever Guerdy does, Adriana is going to find it to be annoying, self-serving, self-centered, and just low-key irritating. Like, you know how it is. When you don't like somebody, nothing that they do is ever going to be right. And I think that's where Adriana is coming from in regards to Guerdy. And that's why she didn't receive Guerdy's tears to be sincere. And she looked at Guerdy's tears as, oh, you know, it's attention seeking. Oh, you know, she's doing this to take the attention off of Julia and to put it on her. And I haven't forgotten Adriana's track record on this show. I remember how nasty she was towards Joanna. I always felt that Adriana was very jealous of Joanna. Joanna had her shook. I think she was just really blown away by Joanna's beauty, and she couldn't take it because she had so much unnecessary hate for Joanna. It made no sense. Like, every time Joanna stepped into the room, Adriana had something nasty to say. She was saying that Joanna's then boyfriend, what was his name, Roman, he was really cute, but she was always saying how he was cheating on her with other women. She just had a real hard-on for making Joanna's life a living hell. So we move on to the next scene with Marisol. She's at home sitting by her pool, and we see Alexia and their friend Johnny with them. So they're like, okay, girl, give us the tea. Did you meet up with Herman's lover, yes or no? So Alexia says, well, about that meetup, we ended up not meeting each other because he did not want to be in front of the cameras. But on the flip side, we ended up talking on the phone for over 4 hours. So Alexia reveals that she put the pieces together and found out that Herman and his lover had started their relationship in 2014, and then she and Herman had separated in 2015. Alexia continues by saying that Herman and his lover were deeply in love, and Herman loved this man so much that he brought the lover's parents from Cuba to America. So they're like, oh my gosh, like, this was a full-blown relationship. So now Alexia reveals that Herman was never going to tell her because he respected her too much and he just didn't want her to find out. So Alexia says that she's really relieved that she was told all this information. She can put this all to bed now, and she's at peace. And she's also really happy to know that Herman was very happy in a great relationship and that he was loved. So Alexia starts joking around that she might invite Herman's lover to her wedding. So Marisol and Johnny are like, girl, like, don't get carried away. All I have to say, I'm happy that Alexia has gotten the closure that she needed. It's evident that she feels relieved. She feels good. She can close that chapter now and focus on her new relationship, soon to be marriage to Todd. I'm going to keep saying it. Alexia is single-handedly carrying Miami on her back because her storylines this season are on fire. I mean, Mama has several storylines to choose from. So, again, Alexia, I hope you got that back brace that I sent you for Christmas, honey, because you are really carrying this franchise on your back. But I digress. Now we jump on over to the next scene, and it is Larsa and Lisa looking at some new homes for Larsa. So anyhow, they pull up to this beautiful home, and Lisa's like, I mean, the home is pretty, but why does Larsa want to move to Boca? Like, there is nothing to do in Boca. It is full of older retirees. Like, that's not Larsa's vibe. She wants to be out where all the action is. And I too was like, girl, Boca? And don't get me wrong, Boca has plenty of wealthy, coined up people, but that's not the place to go if you're trying to really, you know, zip and zoo it. You know what I'm saying? So they tour the house with her agent, Sean, and the house is, I think it was like 10,000 square feet, $10 million, I think 5 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, but anyhow, just a gorgeous home. So now we see Lisa and Larsa just talking, And Lisa's like, so girl, what is going on with your divorce to Scotty? Like, are y'all officially divorced yet? Why are y'all dragging it out? So Larsa says, yeah, I mean, it's been 3 years now, but I mean, what's the rush? Like, we're really not in a rush to officially be divorced. So Larsa goes on to say how Scotty doesn't like how she's dating other men, and he kind of teases her about it. So then Lisa says in her confessional that she can't imagine being with somebody for 20-something years and getting a divorce because she feels like you've been together all this time, you might as well just stick it out. I said, Lisa, that is the wrong mindset to have. Listen, my happiness comes first. I'm never going to allow the fear of starting over to have me in a messed up situation. I will gladly start over in any area of my life. Yes, it might be hard. Yes, it might be challenging. Yes, I might be sad about it, but I'm not going to allow that to stop me from getting better because I'm still stuck in the past because I'm afraid of letting go. That's just not me. I don't like Larsa, but good for her for trying to choose her happiness and saying, you know what, this relationship with me and Scotty just isn't working, so shout out to everybody, I have fun, but this ain't gonna work.
Oh! Shout out to everybody, I have fun.
I gotta be good.
Life is too short and tomorrow is not promised, okay? So now we flip over to the big day. It is Julia's party and Guerdy and her assistant are there. They're setting everything up. The table looks really good. And Guerdy says that when she plans a friend's party, that she makes all the rules. Now, although we don't know a whole lot about Miss Guerdy, it's only episode 4, I will say I definitely got that very pushy, overbearing personality. Like, I got that off rip. And I could tell that when she plans a party, it's her way or the highway, especially if she's doing it for free. So meanwhile, we flip over to see all the other ladies getting ready. And then we see Dr. Nicole at home and she's getting ready and her mom comes to watch her son. Remember that her and her boyfriend Anthony have a 2-year-old and he is so adorable. Nicole says that her mom lives super close to them and she is so thankful to have a very great support system. So she goes on to say how she's half Puerto Rican, half Cuban, and her father, who was Cuban, he was put away when she was 15 because of wire fraud and embezzlement. Remember how she told us that whole story in last week's episode. So Nicole goes on to say that that's why she worked so hard, because seeing how her mom was left with nothing when the dad went away to prison and how her life was just turned upside down. Her mom didn't work. Her mom was solely dependent on her father. And seeing what happened, her mom was thrust into handling all the bills by herself, handling the money, and there wasn't a lot of money once her dad went to jail and everything was seized. Nicole goes on to say how her mom was selling purses and her jewelry and her fur coats, anything to put some food on the table when Nicole and her brother were young. And I said, Miss Noella from OC, I hope you're paying attention because you're about to be selling a lot of your items too to make sure that that rent is paid and that you and your kids are good, because James has left you guys in a terrible situation, but I digress. And we also know that Nicole's upbringing has a lot to do with why she kind of has some hesitance about getting married. I'm going to be super transparent with y'all. I am not feeling Dr. Nicole's storyline at all. I'm a bit bored by it. I don't know what it is. I'm like, okay, is this all you got, girl? Like, I'm gonna need a bit more. Because if she plans on doing this, will they or won't they get married all season long, my interest is about to wane. But now we get back to Julia's party. Julia is still getting ready. Guerdy's there with her assistant and the staff, getting the table all nice, getting the bar set up. And Miss Adriana shows up first with her very cute and colorful poodle. So Adriana is scoping the decor out and she is not impressed. She's like, for Guerdy to be a party planner, like, this ain't it. It's not giving. So Adriana goes up to Guerdy and she's like, this is it? Like, this is not giving me Tulum at all. It's giving very basic. So Guerdy is super insulted and she's like, really, Adriana? It's feeling like jealousy because I'm the party planner for Julia and you're not. So Adriana is going on and on about how underwhelmed she is by Guerdy's party planning skills and the decor. And she takes it upon herself to revamp the bar area. Now, I will say that Guerdy, there wasn't much going on with the bar. The bar was kind of bare, in my opinion. I just thought that that was super petty of Adriana to try to undermine Guerdy's work. I understand you don't like her. I understand that you don't think that the decor was all that. But to say that to somebody, that was rude. And I doubt that Julia paid Guerdy, so for her to expect the 4 seasons of decor when she was doing this probably for free, like, be happy that she did anything, okay? That's just my opinion. But like I said earlier, Adriana can't stand Guerdy for whatever reason, and because of that, Guerdy can do nothing right in her eyes. Like, she is determined to find fault in whatever Guerdy says or does. So Julia comes out to greet Adriana, and Adriana's like, hey girl, I was just telling Guerdy that I was not impressed by her decor. This is not Tulum inspired, and I just went around and I revamped things to make it nice because it was looking real basic. So then she goes on to say how she's Julia's friend first, and I was like, there you go. There's that jealous streak of Adriana coming out yet again. Because why do you feel the need to say that? Can we just talk about something really quickly? I cannot stand possessive people. Like, you need to be okay with your friend having other friends. I cannot stand folks who get weird when you have other friends. Like, that is a red flag for me. And Adriana gets way too possessive over Julia. Like, baby, it's not that deep. I really want Adriana to stop with all this pettiness because it's not cute. And she's too old for this. So the party is finally starting. All the ladies are arriving one by one. You have Lisa showing up. Larsa arrives. Of course, Larsa is super negative, talking about, I don't like animals. And like, you know, I don't like birds. So like, being around all these animals, like, I don't like it. It's like, girl, you never have anything positive to say about anything. Just pathetic. So then we see Dr. Nicole arrive, Alexia arrives, Marisol arrives, Kiki's there. Kiki looked great. Again, I need Peacock to hire Kiki to be full-time season 5 because I just love her. So everybody's having a good time. Miss Martina shows up. And I was screaming when Larsa was like, Martina, I used to take tennis lessons like 5 years ago, and I would love to play you in tennis because I think that I can play really well. And when Martina laughs in her face, like,
You know what? This is too much.
Girl, stop. Like, I'll play you in basketball, but you're not playing me in tennis. Like, we're not even going to do this. I'm not even going to embarrass you like that. Now, y'all know me. Y'all know that I'm very serious about my food and my tennis, okay? Like, I can definitely do something on the court. Honey, I used to be in tennis camp every single summer when I was younger. Like, do not play, honey. I still got it. And I always think it's a shame when I see these women. I'm like, you guys have all this money and all this time. Why aren't you perfecting your tennis skills? We saw Erica Jane on Beverly Hills when she and Crystal were playing at Kathy Hilton's house. She can't play. When Candace and Giselle and Robin were playing this past season of Potomac, they can't play. Mary on Salt Lake City can't play. I'm like, y'all have too much money to not play tennis. I thought that everybody knew the rules of the affluent, well-to-do rich girl handbook, that you need to know how to play tennis. Like, y'all are really slacking, but just a mess. So everybody's talking and laughing, having some mojitos, and then we see Julia putting some flowers in Adriana's dress, like where the boobs are. And so you see Martina looking like, what is going on? Like, don't be touching nobody else except me. And so, of course, Guerdy brings up the foot massage. So Julia's like, hold up, girl. I already told Martina about the foot massage. It's not that big of a deal. Like, I will give my wife a foot massage any day of the week. Like, let's not. So now Guerdy says in her confessional that she's curious to know how far Julia and Adriana have gone and what lines have they crossed. Now, I could see you being a bit curious. Okay, I get it. But you shouldn't be that pressed that you're still thinking about that and you just want to know what's going on between them. Now, listen, I do agree that Julia is crossing some boundaries, giving foot massages to other people besides her wife. But again, that just wasn't the time to bring up the foot massage. So anyhow, it's time for them to eat. That food looked absolutely delicious. Those tacos, I was drooling. You guys already know me. I'm always going to discuss the food every single time. You guys know me by now. We are here. So everybody's eating the food, enjoying themselves, and then here comes Guerdy talking about, let's toast, y'all. Let's toast to sharing, because sharing is caring. So now Martina's asking Guerdy, like, what do you mean by that? Like, what do you mean by sharing is caring? So now Guerdy looks at Julia and she says, I don't know, Julia, like, what do you share? So now Martina's looking at Julia like, girl, what is she talking about? Like, what are you sharing? So now Guerdy says under her breath, foot massages. Now, Guerdy, you had brought the whole foot massage thing up a few minutes before you guys started eating the dinner. It was a little cute ha-ha moment the first time. I don't know why you felt the need to still harp on this and bring it up at dinner. I felt like you were wrong for that. For you to keep bringing it up and then making the conversation tense and making the energy at the table super awkward and weird, that wasn't cool. And I have to be fair and I have to get on you about that. And you were being a little bit annoying. So now Martina is obviously very annoyed and she turns to Adriana and says, and what did you deserve to get a foot massage by my wife? So now Adriana is explaining how when she had came to visit the farm a few days ago, she was wearing her Valentino heels and how her feet and her shoes got super muddy and dirty and she was washing them in a bucket. And that's when Julia gave her the foot massage. So Martina is not here for any of it. She was like, and girl, who are you, the Pope or something? So now it's super awkward at the table. Everybody's quiet, like, oh my gosh. They already know that this dinner is about to go left. So of course, Guerdy has to add fuel to the fire. And she's talking about, nobody's touching my husband's feet at all. Like, absolutely not. Like, I don't play that. I was like, Guerdy, like, enough already, please. You've already succeeded in making this dinner super awkward. Like, just be quiet. Like, let's just move on to another topic. So mind you, Adriana and Guerdy are sitting right next to each other to make things even worse. I was like, that was definitely production's doing because Adriana cannot stand Guerdy. So I know she would not have willingly sat next to her. So now Adriana turns to Guerdy and she's like, I don't understand why you're so worried about my foot massage and what happened. Like, why do you have to keep running your mouth about it? So when Adriana said that, she touched Guerdy's shoulder like this. And so Guerdy's like, you're being aggressive right now. Like, get off of me. Do not touch me. Like, do not touch me. Like, back up off of me. So Adriana's like, look, I'm sorry. I didn't mean anything by that. But again, I don't understand why you have to keep saying it like it's none of your business. Like, just drop it. So now Adriana yells out that nobody at the table likes Guerdy and how she talks way too damn much. So now Guerdy is really taken aback by that. And you can tell that she's about to cry. So Martina and Nicole stick up for Guerdy. And they're like, well, I like her. Like, you know, Guerdy's fine. You know, I like her a lot. The damage has been done. Guerdy's getting teary-eyed. And, of course, it's about to go even more left. Now, when Adriana said, and that's why nobody likes you, you could tell that Guerdy really took that to heart. And it's apparent that maybe growing up, Guerdy didn't have a lot of friends, or maybe she wasn't like super popular, and she wants acceptance now. So to hear that a whole table of people don't like you, that's hurtful. So now Guerdy starts crying, and Adriana at this point is like standing over Guerdy, and she's telling Guerdy to sit somewhere else. Now I was like, Adriana, how dare you stand over somebody? Like, if you were on another franchise standing over somebody, it might have gone south. Like, don't do that. I understand you don't like Guerdy, you can't stand her, you don't want to sit next to her, but to tell her to go somewhere else, like, that was messed up. If you don't want to sit next to her, then you move your behind and you sit elsewhere. But to say, you know, move, get out, you know, standing over her like that wasn't cool. I did think it was funny how Guerdy kept calling Adriana aggressive and saying that she was scared of her because she was getting too physical with her. Because usually we see other races of women saying that about Black women being too aggressive or how they're scared. So it's so funny seeing the tables being reversed in this situation. And you could see that Adriana did not like being called aggressive or hearing that Guerdy was afraid of her. So now Guerdy's trying to defend her personality, and she's talking a mile a minute. Nobody can understand what she's saying. And then she turns to Alexia to like plead her case. So Alexia's like, girl, I don't know what you're saying right now. Like, what? So now Alexia says in her confessional that Guerdy brought all this on herself. And on top of that, Guerdy needs to tone it down because she just does way too much and she talks over people and it's not cool. Now, I remember saying in a previous recap that I saw Alexia and Guerdy falling out. So when I saw that Alexia wasn't defending or comforting her friend, I was like, wow, that's very telling. Alexia was looking like, I don't know this lady, she's on her own, like she's crying, I want no parts of it. But I do have to agree with Alexia because had she not done that petty toast about, you know, the sharing is caring, and then bringing up the foot massage at the table, this wouldn't have happened. So now Guerdy starts crying yet again, and she goes on to say how her life has been super tough, how she lost her brother, how she came to this country not speaking English and not having any money, and how her whole entire life she's kind of been beaten down. So now Adriana interjects, and she's like, I mean, I came to this country with nothing too, and I've lost people, like I lost my father, I lost other relatives, but I don't wear that as a badge of honor. So now Martina interrupts Adriana and she's like, let Guerdy speak, Adriana, like please, like let's not compare tragedies here. So let me just stop and say this. I agree with Martina about let's not compare who has it worse, because that's just petty and immature and just stupid, okay? Now let me just make this point. I am all for people telling their stories, right? I have empathy, I have compassion for Guerdy and what she's been through. But that was not the time or the place to bring that up. You are at a birthday dinner. It is about the birthday person, and for you to now pivot the conversation to discuss what you've been through after you and one of the other guests just got into this massive blowout fight, I thought that was a bit much. I just felt like Guerdy and everybody else should have done their best to try to get the focus back onto Julia and her special day. And I could see where Adriana was coming from about how Guerdy likes to control the situation and how she has to be the center of attention. And when she loses that attention, she cries and tries to manipulate it so that the spotlight is back on her. while I feel like Adriana was also out of line, while I feel like Adriana can be very rude, very jealous-hearted, very petty, I did see where she was coming from in this instance. So now Lisa interjects and says that she wants to get to know Guerdy better, and Guerdy waves her off and says, nope, it's past, I'm done. I only want to talk to people who care about me, and y'all don't care about me, so I'm done. So now Guerdy gets up from the table and she goes to the bathroom, and now Nicole and Lisa follow behind her and they're trying to comfort her. Lisa says in her confessional that Guerdy talking over people doesn't bother her and how everybody in this group does it, especially Adriana. Guerdy says that although Adriana might have made her cry for a little bit, that Adriana will not break her and she's still going to be positive. So now they all come back to the table and now we see Julia blowing out the candles to her cake, and that's where the episode ends. Y'all, this was another amazing episode of Miami. Miami, I don't know how much more I can say it, but they are really bringing their A game, and I am here for every single minute of it. But y'all, thank you all for watching my recap. I hope you all enjoyed. And as always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all later. Bye.